Should parents take their children out of school during term time to go on holiday? 0207 862 2222 is the number. The cost of half-term flights has tripled in the past 5 years. According to analysis, it's out today in the Telegraph. May is now closing in on the summer months as the most expensive time to jet out, and prices are 15% higher than they were last April, 15% increase in just a year. The fine for unauthorised absences during term time is £80 per child per parent. Maybe you think that's a price worth paying because you save so much on the holiday. Or maybe you think a child's education is much more important than a bargain break. Sharon, what do you think?
I think it depends a little bit on the age of the child, if I'm really honest. You know, I think if children are in primary school, it's not going to be so difficult for them if they miss a few days here or there. I think once they get into senior school, it's much more important. And obviously, they've got those exams coming up to them again. And then again, it's very relative to what the family can afford. It should be, I mean, you just mentioned the price, the increase. To me, it's the greed of the travel industry, which is at fault here, more than anything else. The fact that they have made it so difficult for families to go away on holidays during holiday periods, during the summer holiday periods.
Well, they could go away, couldn't they? But they might not necessarily have to fly. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think people with small children do kind of, the days are long, but the years are short. And I definitely didn't go abroad every year when my son was younger. We just didn't do that. We actually had holidays in this country and did other things.
We only ever went to Cornwall.
There's so many other things you can do, because I think some parents are kidding themselves that it is a cultural enrichment trip to go and sit by the pool in Fuerteventura and they're educating their kids by getting them to count their cocktails or whatever they're doing. Because kids don't like flying generally. They don't like too much heat. They don't like mosquitoes. They sometimes don't like the food. So you're not going for them. There are places you can take them, and travel is great for children, but really they just want to spend time with you, and you can go and play Lord of the Rings in the woods, and actually they'd have they would have as much a great time. And I do think a lot of parents are using the excuse we need to go for the family. It's the only way we can spend time together. You could spend time together
I agree,
ways.
but I would say that even hotels in the UK now are ridiculously expensive.
Or centre parks or whatever, true.
Michaela, let's ask, is it incredibly sanctimonious to say, what message are you sending your children? Are you sending a message which says, disregard the rules, we don't really care if it's annoying for the teacher, we don't really mind that the school has said don't do this, we don't care because we in our family, we take a holiday when we want one and we're going and we don't care what we have to do? Is that the right message or the wrong message?
I think it's the wrong message, isn't it? And I think what you've got to think is, what happens if everybody did it? If everyone decided, we're going on a cheap holiday, let's take the last week of term off, and the whole class takes the term off, then you are paying your taxes to a government to let your kids have the privilege of having education, free education, and no one's in the class.
I mean, this is another instance where you have a different perspective because you live most of the time in South Africa and you're very conscious that there are kids there who don't get the chance to go to school necessarily.
Or there's, 50, 60 children in a class, and it's hard work being in one of those government schools. So I do think we have to look at the fact that we do have a pretty good government system for schools in this country, and I think you need to have a little bit of respect for that. But I think I'm with Sharon. I think let's have legislation on putting the prices up, hiking the prices up of hotels and everything else in the holidays.
If you do that means you can't put the price of Easter eggs at Easter up. Or Christmas turkeys up. That's supply and demand, isn't it? You can't stop the travel industry putting a premium on holiday time, can you? Even if it's not nice, they're still going to do it.
I know, but it has gone up excessively. I mean, that's the thing, and it's not even gone up anywhere in line with inflation. They just keep putting it, inconsistently up during that period of time. And I just think it's extremely difficult on families, especially if if you've got several kids, how expensive is it then for you to travel? And I think if you're just tagging a day on at the end, I mean, I know, family members, not naming anybody, but they might tag a day on so that they're not trying to spend 5 hours in the car with the kids that's only a year old versus 2 hours because the traffic is much less and it's a much better journey then for them to do it.
What they should do is actually have term times different.
They do, don't they, in some parts of the UK?
In some parts of the UK. I know in Scotland it starts earlier, doesn't it?
But then you've got two different children at two different schools with different school holidays. Complete nightmare. All I can hear is my late father's voice saying very loudly, Vanessa, what's wrong with Bournemouth? What's wrong with Bournemouth? The answer is nothing. Nothing's wrong with Bournemouth at all. What's wrong with Bournemouth? Why does everyone have to think they've got to fly somewhere? Why should they? Let's go to Joe on Facebook, who says, my child, my choice. Whoa. Jo said, whoa, there is no way people should be fined by the government for choosing what they believe is best for their children. What do you think of that? Egomania?
Well, when his teenager turns around and says to him, my life, my choice, I'm not going to school today because that's my choice. That's what you've taught them, actually, that they've got ultimate kind of sanction over that.
Yeah, my teeth, my choice. I'm not cleaning them, Mum.
Yeah.
My bedroom, my choice. I've got mould growing.
And we've lost boundaries, haven't we, in so many areas nowadays, and that does have a very negative effect, I think, on society as a whole when we don't have boundaries.
My choice. What about the state system? How about they choose to expel your child? You won't like that. Let's go to Mira, who's on the line in Middlesex. Mira, what do you think? Would you take your children out during term time? Because obviously holidays are much, much cheaper then.
Well, I was just telling your chap on the phone that I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't be tempted. Have you ever been tempted?
I've been tempted, but my son has a life-limiting condition now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's awful.
And he wants to go abroad. He desperately wants to go and see the world.
Right.
And I just think it's important for him to spend time with his friends, have an education, and when the holidays come, we will spend the money and take him.
Right. So even though he's so very ill, you still want him to kind of learn the respect and the kind of doing the same thing. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Right, special circumstances. I think, a trip like that, you could easily get permission, or you should be able to get permission, I would say, from a school to do that if that's what you wanted to do. That is a particular circumstance.
Yes, Mira, sending you a great deal of love through the television. I'm really so sorry to hear that. Must be so difficult for you all.